Welcome back. You know I love to grow these true yams, Dioscorea species. I have at least 5 or 10 different species and different cultivars of those species mixed into my perennial yam beds. So for those of you who have wondered, when do you harvest these things? This is the time. In a temperate climate like this, we're in zone 8, when you get them all frosted off like this, it's pretty much time. Now you could let this stuff die down to the ground if you want to and dig, but we're just gonna dig them right now. There's a pronounced dormancy period with yams. So pretty much they're gonna grow for you in zone 8, 9, and 10 from about March and April right through into November, December, and then they're done. And they're gonna go to sleep anyways. If they were in the tropics, they would go to sleep. That would be the dry season. They go to sleep through that, and they have a little clock inside. And when they reach the end of that clock, it's time to harvest them for this year because they have made as much tuber as they're going to make. So this is the time that we dig. Let's see what we've got here. This is only the first year in poor soil, but we may have a decent root. One of the great things about yams is that if you find out you've got small roots the first year, you could turn around and let them grow for another year. I could just leave this in the ground. There's a piece of it. I could leave this in the ground until next year and be perfectly fine. It would grow back and be very happy. If you have harder soil than this, you have to be really careful when you dig around it because you can easily lose a chunk of yam. And if you try to pry them out of the ground, you can lose pieces of them too. And I generally just kind of work them out with my hands when the soil is moist, but that's because I have nice, easy to work sandy soil, even if it is incredibly deficient. If you have clay soil and you grow yams, I highly recommend mixing in some organic matter and growing them in mounded beds that are a little higher, because when they get down into the ground, if the clay is really hard, they'll actually just disappear themselves into the ground, and they're super, super hard to dig. We had some really long yams we were growing down in the Caribbean that would disappear into the ground, and you try to chase it through this hard pottery clay and you would almost never find the end of it. We invariably had probably another foot or so stuck in the ground that would break off. I still like to work in mounds even in sandy soil. There is our yam right there. There's multiple parts of it. This one has gone sideways in a couple of spots. But if we rinse that off, we'd see we've got a few meals right here. There's a lot of root in there. Some of these guys were already dying down before the frosts. Putting all those sugars that they gathered over the course of the season down into the roots. If you dig the roots early in the year, you'd be gravely disappointed with them. There won't be hardly anything there, sometimes nothing. But they digest the previous year's root, grow lots of vines in the spring, and then form a new root as the season gets longer and later in the year to store up to go through the winter or the dry season, depending on your climate. And these trellises work very well for us. We've thrown them on stakes, and we've thrown them on trees and all kinds of other things, but these are really easy. We make one long mounded bed and use these trellises to make jagelluses. Easy peasy. It's funny, these older vines are harder to cut than the new ones sometimes. Along some of these vines we'll find little aerial roots. Some varieties of yams make aerial roots called bulbils. These can be used to start new plants for the next year. These little bulbils are very, very handy, because you can use them kind of like seed. But not all varieties of yams will make them for you, only some of them do. With Dialata usually making plenty of them, particularly the white varieties of Dialata, which seem to make a lot more than the purple do, at least for me. Well, I'm going to get to digging these things up. Thank you for joining me. I just wanted to show you that. And check out my books, particularly if you're interested in Florida gardening. Check out Florida Survival Gardening, where I talk a lot more about yams and cassava and other staple crops you may not be familiar with, but that will keep you full in an economic apocalypse or just in a regular backyard garden. You know, you don't have to worry that much if you have a ton of calories in the ground. Why bother storing up bags and bags of beans and rice when you could store your calories right in your backyard in the soil and not have to worry about weevils getting them? Catch you all next time. Check out my books at the links below. And until I see you again, may your thumbs always be green.